in the know. We want to keep you in the know of the good things going on in our state, as well as the good resources available in our state. So that's why today I have with me Miss Wendy Bailey. She's the Executive Director of Mississippi Department of Mental Health. Not a department you always think that you might need resources from, but you or a loved one may definitely be able to benefit from some of the programs that they have. And October is Mental Awareness Week, or the first week of October is, which brings you into the studio. So welcome, Wendy.
Thank you for having me today.
So when someone says, what do you do? And you're like, I'm the Executive Director for the Department of Mental Health. And then they're like, oh, how do you sort of follow that up with like what you guys actually do there every day on a daily basis?
So what I like to say is that we bring hope to others, and that we provide services and supports to help people on their road to recovery in their everyday lives, because mental illness or mental health impacts everyone.
You know, we celebrate recovery here on Good Things, particularly from addiction, drug, alcohol abuse a lot, because that can feel like a hopeless, journey for so many families. And this is the first time, and we have raised awareness, obviously, for mental health here too, but I've never connected the word recovery with mental illness. And that's kind of a light bulb moment, Wendy. It's kind of a different way to look at it. So how do you help sort of describe that?
So we talk about a road to recovery, which is in the same area as substance use. And a lot of times you hear it now referred to as behavioral health, and that includes both mental health and substance use or addiction services, because there are so much that there's co-occurring throughout. But we talk about a road to recovery, and one of the things that we focus on is it's non-linear. So there may be ups and there may be downs, because it is an illness, just like any other illness that affects your body. And you will have ebb and flow throughout that. We spend a lot of time talking about how your mental health and your physical health really do go hand in hand, that you cannot be mentally healthy if you're not physically healthy, and you cannot be physically healthy if you're not mentally healthy. So on that road to recovery, a lot of the self-care things that we talk about are very similar to your physical health. It's sleeping well, getting enough sleep, eating right, exercising. Self-care is so very, very important. So it really is a process of recovery.
And you can imagine if you're walking that journey or that road of mental illness, you would need team of support for all of that, because not one healthcare provider can kind of give you an exercise program and an eating plan and,
Right.
marking it all for you. And you probably, the exercise and the eating definitely are part of it, but I think you have acute needs when it comes to mental illness as well. So also too, the word mental illness, just like addiction, has such a big umbrella it's such a big umbrella term for so many other things, because I feel like there's a lot who are on the brink of maybe even a mental breakdown or meltdown, or maybe they go through waves in their life and they've gotten themselves out. So do y'all have like a good definition or sort of checklist, I don't know, of when it's become an issue versus when it may just be a dark cloud during a season?
That's right. So again, it goes back to everyone has mental health, and you have to look at everybody's going to go through depression. Everybody's going to have times of anxiety or sadness. That's common and that's normal. I think the COVID-19 pandemic, honestly, that's something that it brought to light. It shed a light on the fact that we all go through things, and that impacts our mental health when we're going through something in our life. However, when you get to a point that it's impacting your ability to function daily, that is when you do need to reach out and you need to seek help. We created several years ago a mental health, well, actually 2 years ago, mentalhealthms.com website. So it's a little separated from the Department of Mental Health, and it has services and supports and a county map, and you can see crisis services in your area, what's available, where to go, but it also has free screenings. And
cool.
I think that's one thing you can read those questions and you look at those screenings and you realize, okay, I'm going through this, or I've been through this before. So earlier you mentioned the team of people. You're right, it does take a team of people, but it also takes the community. And I think that's why things like Mental Illness Awareness Week are so important, because it's not just your clinician are your primary health care physician. It's your minister. It's your friends. It's your neighbors. If we can break down those barriers and we talk about mental health in the same way that we talk about our physical health, then you lean on each other more and you change those beliefs to where it's more accepted to speak about it and to talk about it.
So what are some of the things this week, Wendy, that the Department of Mental Health is doing over this Mental Illness Awareness Week, which is the 3rd, which I guess was yesterday. Through the 9th, which is this coming up weekend, I think. Yes, Saturday.
Well, one thing that we try to do, last month was Suicide Prevention Month, and we spent a lot of focus on alcohol and drug addiction as well. One thing that we try to do is we try to do that throughout the year. We don't try to limit it to 1 week.
Right.
But this week in particular, we're focusing in a lot on our social media. So, that's one way that, you reach people. So, for example, just last month, we launched Your Mental Health Minute. And it's every Monday, and we do a brief video, 3 to 4 minutes, about some topic related to mental health. We're also working with Mental Health America in trying to get out fact sheets and information about some particular mental illnesses as well. 1 in 5 Mississippians will experience a mental health condition at some point in their life. 1 in 25 will experience a serious mental illness. So that's bipolar disorder, schizophrenia. So we want to raise awareness of both areas.
You wish there was almost 2 different terms for it, right? Because it's the difference between just your acute anxiety or going through even like having panic disorder or whatever versus being bipolar or, and I feel like some people don't understand that just because you have one or suffer from one doesn't mean you're going to end up at either spectrum. And not that there should be shame on any of it, but you just say mental illness and you go straight to, well, you say it all the time. You go straight, anything. You go straight to the worst of the worst case sort of scenarios. Mm-hmm. So you convince yourself, well, that's not me. But okay, but it could be that you could use some help if you were in this sort of category.
That's exactly right. I think it's normalizing.
Normalizing. I'm liking the screeners. So, Wendy, if we went on the website, you can share it with us again. What type, pick one. What's one of the screeners on there for us?
Well, there's a suicide prevention screener, obviously, but there's also just general screeners that talk about depression, anxiety, stress, and you answer questions, and then it gives you a score, and it tells you if you need to reach out and contact your primary health care physician or community mental health center. It is and Thursday is actually National Screening Day, so we really encourage it on that day as well. But it's something that's available year-round. mentalhealthms.com and behindthemaskms.com, which is a website that we created due to the rise in mental health and substance use needs around the COVID-19 pandemic. Both of those have those screeners available.
I'll make sure that I link that into the Good Things Facebook group whenever Facebook starts back working. The world has come to an end today because Facebook and Instagram says put on pause, which shows where our mental health issues are probably connected to. But when it gets up and going, I'll make sure, because I feel like those screeners are just helpful. It's a free tool. You can do it in the privacy of your phone or whatever and sort of gauge your own self there, and at least you can have more data to make the next step decision, if or if not. We're going to talk to, coming up next here on Good Things, Wendy, Miss Sandra, and she's part of other programs or other opportunities that you offer through mental health. Give us a little snippet of what we'll hear from, or who Miss Sandra is, or the role she plays.
So Sandra is actually one of our certified peer support specialists. She's one of the first ones that were trained in the state back in 2011, 2012, when the program began. And that is a person who goes through an intense training program that the Department of Mental Health has, and they learn how to use their own lived experiences to provide hope to others. So they provide services and supports to other people, and they are able to say, I've been there. I've been through that. Here's what I've learned. Here's what's helped me. And it's a very unique way to bring that help and that hope to people who have mental illness.
Well, and I think that is one of the best tools that we all have, is just sharing our shared experiences in the appropriate ways in which you feel connected to someone to sort of do. You don't just go blasting your problems over wherever, but if you can connect and sort of allow yourself to be human with others, that really helps them more than you, I think, realize. illness, particularly if you found your way out of a dark spot. But no dark spots here. We've got plenty of good with Miss Wendy, the Executive Director of Mississippi Department of Mental Health, and we'll speak with Miss Sandra coming up next for a little more. We're exploring more about what goes on at the Mississippi Department of Mental Health. It is Mental Illness Awareness Week, and joining us in the studio is the Executive Director, Wendy Bailey. But joining us by phone is Miss Sandra Caron. Hey, Miss Sandra.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for taking your time to be with us here on Good Things. I think what you're doing as a peer support personnel there with the Department of Health is such a courageous thing. Share with us just a little bit about your journey, as much as you would like.
All right. I have to date myself. In 1973, I had my first major episode of mental illness and wound up in a psychiatric hospital in a padded room in a straitjacket and was given 12 shock treatments. When I left that hospital over a month later, I was told that by the time I was 50, I would have lost my mind and be in a lunacy asylum for good. That didn't happen right away, but in 1991, I had another really bad episode with my mental illness again, wound up in a hospital. I had an accidental overdose of my medication. I walked in my sleep one night, apparently, and took about half of all the bottles of medicine that I had been given because I'd just gotten out of the hospital. And so woke up about 2 weeks later, actually about 4 days later, but I really couldn't talk or walk, or all I could do was cry and hallucinate. After that, I was given another round of shock therapy. I had 11 of those. And so when I left that hospital, I became what was considered non-compliant in that day. I just decided the medicine and the shock treatments weren't helping me. And so I went for about a year before, and it was a horrible year, before I reached out to get services again. But this time I literally went to another state because I was so frightened of what had been happening to me. And that visit to a psychologist was the first time anyone ever asked me what I wanted, which is the first question we ask people now when we see them in services. What is it you want?
Well,
and I often hear, go ahead, ma'am.
No, I was just going to say, and I would say what we want is just to shed light, and I think it takes such courage, Sandra, just to continue to share your story. I loved the word Wendy used earlier with us here on Good Things was a road to recovery when it comes to mental illness. Had you ever thought of it that way, that it was just going to be, a lifelong journey of recovery for you? Is that kind of like a game changer, a shift in perspective?
I think initially, because of what I was told, that there was no hope offered, I just kind of felt like my life was over. I'm mentally ill. My life was over. And that's the way I saw it. When I actually moved into recovery, I began to realize that life held just a completely different meaning for me. So do I continue to take the medicine that I need to take? Yes. Do I continue to get help? Yes, I do. But I would do the same because I have blood pressure issues or because I have diabetes. I'm still going to seek the help I need to stay well.
And I think that's the light at the end of this tunnel that I want everyone, if you're listening to Good Things and you're thinking, wow, this is a hard topic. It is, but I think the good thing that come out of it is say, if you've been touched by this, or if you know someone who's struggling, there is hope. It's not a death sentence necessarily to have a mental illness, not even in the form of ending your life, but in the form of just ending any kind of quality of life. And Miss Sandra, you being brave enough to share that, I think, hits us all to hit a little bit of a gut punch to sort of, think about it differently. And now you spend your days working as a peer support specialist. So what's that work like for you? How do you work with other people who are finally coming to terms with getting help?
Well, I recently quit one job, which was at Central Mississippi Residential Center. I've been a peer specialist there for 9 years, and I loved it. I loved working with the individuals. I came from a place of understanding, and it was easy to soon build trust and rapport when I let them know, look, I've got this too, and I have these symptoms too. I understand what you're going through. But currently, I am the project director for the Association of Mississippi Support Specialists, which is a nonprofit organization that was put together to help support the peer specialist. And so I work from home now, which I love, and we train virtually. We had a training again last week. We trained another, I think, over 20 individuals to become peer specialists. That's a 4.5-day training, and work with the Department of Mental Health, of course, to put that training on. So I really love what I do. I really like the opportunity, or appreciate the opportunity, rather, to help others begin to turn around and do this job. Currently, and I'm not sure the exact numbers, Wendy may know, but right now there are approximately 300 peer specialists working in the state of Mississippi.
You read my mind, Sandra. I was listening to ask. I was listening to say, okay, Wendy, I feel like there are people who are listening and saying, oh, I need a Sandra in my life. I need, that's the kind of support that's been missing in my journey with my mental illness or with my family members. So how does that work, Wendy? How do you get connected with a peer support specialist?
So there are 287 currently that are employed in the state's mental health system. So those are through DMH certified providers like your local community mental health center. We've trained, though, close to 1,000 people in peer support training. Some of those are employed with the VA or correctional facilities all throughout the state. But you can absolutely get connected one through your local community mental health center.
And there are other services, too. We don't want to leave that out, that the Department of Mental Health offers, Wendy. This is just Mental Health Awareness Week, but y'all offer this 365 days out of the year, or I should say 52 weeks out of the year. What else there do you want to make sure people are aware of?
I encourage people to go to mentalhealthms.com and take a look, because there are mobile crisis response teams that we fund and the services provided through their community mental health center. And those are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they respond to a crisis wherever it's occurring. We had about 34,000 calls and almost 12,000 face-to-face visits last year. Or last fiscal year. There's also supported employment. There are intensive community support services now available in all 82 counties. If you need that level of service, if you've been hospitalized and you need to be connected to that service wrapped around you, we have those available. There's supported housing options. There's also you also have alcohol and drug addiction services as well. So we have a 24-hour helpline. And I mentioned during the break that between our helpline and the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline here in Mississippi, we've seen about a 30% increase in calls in the last year. And I think that's because more and more people are realizing, okay, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to get connected. It's okay to talk to someone.
And if someone listening to Good Things thinks the only way out is like through real expensive therapy that's going to go on and on for the rest of my life, and I don't have the $150 an hour, and they want to see me 3 times a week, and you can talk yourself right out of anything, but you can also be misinformed that that's the only route. So what do you say to that, to those who feel like that there are barriers to them getting that kind of treatment?
I would say contact the helpline or go to the website, find your local community mental health center. There's other providers as well, but the community mental health centers offer a sliding scale fee. And there's also therapy doesn't have to be never ending. I mean, you can learn self-care, you can learn coping skills. There's evidence-based practices like cognitive behavioral therapy to help you know how to then help yourself as well. So don't let that be a barrier. We also have federal grants right now through the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration for people who may be experiencing some of these conditions due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and services can be offered through that as well. So don't let that be a barrier.
And Sandra, what would you say to those that are listening to think, I've been told too that this is just the lot that I've been given in life, or maybe they've tried and it's, failed. What would you say to not giving up on getting back on the road to recovery when it comes to mental illness?
I say don't give up. Get the help you need. This is manageable. I've learned to manage this illness, and we all can. So don't give up. Please, reach out and get the help you need. Life is actually worth living. It's an amazing journey for me, considering where I was and what my life is now. And the mental illness does not have to rule your life, but you've got to learn to manage it and show accountability when it's acting up. You definitely have to take an active part in your own treatment.
Well, I think that's a great way to sort of round this out. And too, Sandra, again, what great courage. I think more people, just like in the, recovery world of addictions of all kinds, if we can empower people or they can feel, empowered or have the same courage to come out and share their story, just more and more souls are going to be touched by that because you're not alone when it comes to mental. We all have it. I love that way. That's what I'm taking away from you today, Wendy. We all have mental health. And then it's using the term of recovery too with it. And it's possible. It's not hopeless. One last time, what's that great website?
mentalhealthms.com.
All righty. Stick with us. We've got more good things for you coming up next.